Question: have you ever been called on the carpet at church? I have. Here's my story.
Mm, mm, mm.
Welcome to Homemade. I'm Shannon Cason. If you died today, where would you go? I used to do what's called street evangelism. That's when you go out in the crowded streets and basically you annoy people for Jesus. I wasn't raised to be a Jesus freak. My dad is an original Detroit player. Gator shoes, women, money, running the streets. He heard that his dad, he never met him, was a fast talking preacher who ran the streets. So I guess it was in my blood to mix the two. I love women and I love Jesus. And in my early 20s, Jesus had my heart. I was involved in a church and I sold out. I was at every service. I was an usher, an armor bearer. I prayed and read my Bible every day. I lived a celibate life, no women. I was just a kid trying to please God. I loved evangelism. We would go out in twos. I was paired with the church secretary. Her name was Ethel. I always loved old school names. My mom's name is Bessie, and I'm a mama's boy. Ethel was fine too, tall with long legs. I got a thing for Amazons with vintage names. I was celibate for 5 years at that point, but I still knew if a woman was fine, and she was. We would be out annoying heathens for Jesus together, and after a while, we wouldn't be making people uncomfortable as much as getting comfortable with one another. People at the church noticed it. We had this chemistry together. But the women at the church were supposed to be Jesus's girl till the guy put a ring on it. So we split up on the evangelism team. The pastor of the church told us to stop hanging out with each other, but stolen water tastes sweeter. And bread eaten in secret is delicious. That's Proverbs 9:17 if you brought your Bibles. Okay, let's take a break from finding verses to talk about this new tool I found to incorporate into my routine to keep me sharp and creative. Let's call it mental wealth, investing in your mind. Mental wealth is sleep, diet, exercise, stress management, and healthy tools to take me over the top. I found the game changer, Magic Mind mental performance shots. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a quick and easy way to supercharge my creativity. I get Magic Mind in a monthly supply right at my doorstep so I can incorporate Magic Mind into my daily routine. I'm going to drink one right now, take a little sip. It's good stuff. I've been taking them every morning for my writing sessions. My thoughts flow better, distractions fade away, and I feel more connected to my creative process. Plus, on the flip side, there's sleep shots that help me wind down at night because sleep is part of the creative routine as well. So if you're looking to build your mental wealth like me, try Magic Mind. Right now, they're offering homemade listeners 45% off your first 24-hour pack, the focus and the sleep shots. You get 45% off with my code. Go to magicmind.com/homemade JAN. That's magicmind.com/homemade JAN. Okay, let's go back to church. So we were in a mutual friend's wedding party, me and Ethel. And the bride paired us to walk together because we were both tall. And I remember I spun her around when we walked down the aisle, just having fun. She laughed, the whole church laughed. Something about weddings. After the reception, me and Ethel found ourselves alone in the parking lot. And we forgot about celibacy. We forgot about the pastor's rules. We forgot about sin. We kissed, we touched, we held each other. She followed me to my apartment so we can continue what we started. And I know this is innocent for most people to hear, a man and woman in their 20s with sexual desires hooking up. But for the highly church folks out there who listening and watching, you know the stakes in all this. And this was a lifetime ago for me. But one thing I remember, neither of us expected to be having sex that day. I just remember it was a lot of hair. Too much hair. No manscaping or womenscaping on either side. It was like 70s porn hair. But after it was done, and my 5-year celibacy had ended, I felt defeated, like I had let God down. I sat at the edge of the bed as she dressed, and I felt naked. I mean, I was still naked. I hadn't put my clothes on yet, but you get what I mean. She went to work the next day at the church. She was the church secretary and told the pastor what happened. He called me to meet him at his office. I was his armor bearer. I walked past Ethel, trying to act busy at her desk. I sat in the pastor's office in this big chair. This is a man I respected. He had to know how bad I felt. The pastor said, "This is why I told you not to hang around her. I knew this would happen." Like he was angry at me. That Sunday, at the beginning of the service, he called me and Ethel to the front of the church. We stood right in front of the pulpit, side by side, and the pastor told us, "Tell them what happened." Full congregation in attendance, even in the balcony. And we confessed to everyone what we had done in detail. Ethel stared at the ground and just said a few words. Me, I said, "I'm sorry to God and everybody for committing fornication with Ethel here. We were at the wedding and we were hot and bothered and we kissed and we started rubbing on each other. And she followed me to my apartment and there was a lot of hair. There was just a lot of hair. But we ain't married and that's not right. And there were tears in my eyes. I'm sorry, everybody." She was accepted back into the fold. She was a good secretary, I guess. And I was pushed out, discommunicated. Ethel never spoke to me again, ever. The pastor never spoke to me again, ever. And after no communication with anyone at the church, friends, even my roommates, I got the picture and I left. About 6 years later, and I'll be honest, I wasn't celibate for those 6 years. I think I was trying to catch up for missed time. But about 6 years later, I saw in a news report that the church had gone bankrupt and everything was foreclosed on and it closed down. Now, I'm not saying that happened because the pastor did me wrong or anything. It was one of these prosperity churches. They were buying everything, jets, helicopters, big homes, BMWs, stuff that I don't know if that really has to do anything with helping people. But I wonder if the pastor went in front of the entire congregation and confessed to ruining the church's finances. I doubt it. I think he just moved to Florida and continued where he left off. But here's a question. If you died today, where would you go? I think heaven has to be more than just good timing with asking forgiveness. It has to be. I ran into some kids on the street and they wanted to talk to me about Jesus. I stopped and talked to them. I always do. I saw myself in them, trying my damnness to live right for God and the approval of the people around me. I even prayed with them the whole nine. And at the end of it all, before they walked away to go annoy other people, I told them, hey, all y'all, I listened to y'all and I prayed. Now listen to me for a second. You're not perfect, none of y'all. So don't try to be. And remember, it's your life, no one else's. Don't be afraid to live a little. Trust me, God will still love you. And oh yeah, if you ever mess up, don't go tell the whole congregation. It's really none of their business.
Mm, mm, mm. Now that's homemade.